How customers found you 10 years ago versus how they find you now are two completely different things. This reality is consistently changing and growing, and hundreds of millions of people are now starting to use large language learning models like ChatGPT, like Claude, like Perplexity in order to find local service businesses, much like yours, if you found this video. So in this video, I'm just going to go and break down the full AI SEO course for local service businesses. And this is the same principles, the same operations, and the same strategy I use in order to rank my clients consistently on ChatGPT specifically, which of course leads to an increase in deal flow and as a result, booked jobs. Now, before I get further into it, just to give a bit of a background on me, my name is Matthew Johnson. I'm the founder of Pleiades Consultancy. I've created and scaled my own marketing agency to multiple six figures and then proceeded to serve as the CMO of an Amazon agency where we work with some of the largest names in the e-commerce industry, such as Ridge Wallet, which you've probably heard of, Hexclad, BK Beauty. BK Beauty was on the Inc. 5000 list. Hexclad is Gordon Ramsay's cookware brand, and I could go on and on. But I ended up tripling this business. It went from 15 active clients to a little over 45. And that doesn't include deals that were one-off or that were generated outside of the business. So the actual number is probably somewhere north of 50, 55, thereabout. Now, if you just want to skip the line and you want to grab all 7 of my free AI SEO trainings, you can grab them in the link in the description or in the pinned comment. Much of what I'm going to talk about today have already been detailed extensively in these trainings. And each training is a little over 90 pages. So if you want to take the time out to read that, or if you just want to feed it to your AI and have it implement these strategies for you, then be my guest. Just some proof here as well, but these are about 9 of my clients that are actively ranking on ChatGPT in their specific area for their specific keywords, whether they're a lawyer, a restoration company, a dentist, carpet cleaning company, another water damage company, another dentist, even a hardware store in Kingston, Jamaica. Like, we do it all. And yeah, if you want to validate my claims, just search up these exact same search terms here in ChatGPT. Feel free to pause the video, do that, and then see if any of my clients come up. You try this one, this one, this one, and they're all my clients. So anyways, get into it. You can do your own validation after this and do your due diligence. I want to talk about the importance of AI search and whether or not this is like some fad or something, right? Because every so often, there's going to be somebody that comes on and tries to sell you something new on why you should do it and why it's the next best opportunity out there. But this is actually supported by data. And for the nerds out there, here I've listed my cited answers as well. I do my citations, right? So there's no single official count of AI searches per week, but multiple 2026 industry reports converge on a clear picture of it being hundreds of millions to over 1 billion queries weekly, and roughly 3/4 of internet users search via AI at least once a week. So even if you look at the numbers here, you can see that for ChatGPT, there are over 900 million weekly users that use it in order to search for whatever it may be. And a large contingent of that is, of course, in the US. I believe these numbers are all for the US. And you can best believe that a majority of these or a percentage of these are being used to search for businesses that they should trust. I already, in my last video, I went over how one of my clients is receiving 10 inbound jobs per month, many of which are also coming from ChatGPT. So it's incredibly important that you find yourself on this platform because of that reason. Because this number is only slated to grow week over week, month over month, year over year. So if you don't find yourself on this platform and your competitors take this market share, then that's business that will be going to them and not you. So why should you care, right? Because as I mentioned prior, this is only an industry that's continuing to grow. In 2025, the industry was valuated at 18.5 billion. And by the end of 2026, it's expected to hit 21.1 billion, growing at a 14% annual rate, right, through to 2036. So it's expected to reach an estimated 78.2 billion by 2036. And this is market share that's available to everyone. You don't have to be a business that's, 10 or 15 years old. I have clients that have been doing this for less than 5 years and are already ranking top one. One of them in the screenshot that I showed you, Murphy Dental Aesthetics, a dental clinic based out of Mississippi, Ridgeland specifically. And they're already ranking top one for their specific search term. So you can see here that a majority of the discovery channels nowadays are, of course, still Google. Google isn't going anywhere anytime soon. But within the top 4 here are AI tools like ChatGPT, like Gemini, like Perplexity. Right? So this projection is essentially saying that the industry will be worth 78.2 billion by 2036. And the implication for local businesses is that it's no longer just about ranking well on a search results page, but businesses that don't establish this kind of AI readable footprint risk falling into the growing pool of invisible local businesses that never make an AI shortlist. Or in other words, they'll lose billions, potential billions to competitors that are ranking ahead of them. So time is of the essence. Time is of the essence, Anon. That's, I even fumbled there. But, time is of the essence. I don't know why I keep saying that. So you know what it is and why you should care. Now, how do you actually rank? So it's a combination of about 4 things is what I've broken it down to. Of course, number 1 is your Google business profile, which accounts for about 60 to 70% of these rankings. Number 2, I'd say, is your website, whether it's technically optimized, on page, off page, stuff like that. Here's an example of a client of mine whose page I built. 3rd are your third-party citations. So that's your Yelp, that's your TripAdvisor, that's your social media platforms, that's your industry-specific citations like health-grade ZocDocs if you're a dentist, so on and so forth. And then, of course, your reviews. I've also included an example of an optimized review. I'll go over that in a bit. But, once you've done all of this, there's only one thing that ChatGPT is going to say. And, someone cooked here. Someone did exceptionally well here. And I have no reason not to recommend them. Right? You can tell how much fun I've had making these boards. But yeah, anyway, let's go into number 1, which is your optimized Google business profile. Now, I used an example of a client of mine, which is Murphy Dental Aesthetics, currently ranking number 1 for the term cosmetic dentist in Ridgeland. Now, the first thing that I want to go over is the primary category, and it's this little term that you see right here. There are so many businesses that I see get this wrong, and if your primary category is incorrect, this basically serves as the foundation, and the Google business profile on a whole serves as your foundation because this is one of the main citations that your AIs, that your, of course, Google local search pulls from. So if the foundation is incorrect, then everything else that's built on top of it will crumble, essentially. So the primary category for my client here is cosmetic dentist because, of course, this is what he specializes in. He does stuff like veneers, like porcelain veneers, dental implants, so on and so forth. So typically the primary category is whatever your specialty is in and what you're actively trying to rank for. So again, in my client's case, it's the primary category cosmetic dentist within, of course, their service area, Ridgeland, Mississippi. Moving on here, it's actually the posts. Now, excuse this picture here. This is a before and after. But one of the things that Google looks at for, whenever they're looking to rank a particular profile is activity. And if you don't post within, let's say, 2, 3, 4 weeks, let's say it's been a month since you last posted, you're essentially looked at by Google as being an inactive profile. And as a result, they're not going to want to rank or show an inactive profile to potential users. Because think of it from the perspective of Google. You are a company that's trying to keep someone on your platform or on your profile for as long as possible. If you show them an inactive business or you show them a string of inactive businesses, then the customer is going to be less likely to use your platform because all they can find are inactive businesses. That's exactly how Google works. So part of the strategy is posting at least twice a week. And these photos that you post need to be geotagged to the location or the specific locations that you're trying to rank for. And I'll go into those locations in a bit more detail. But alongside that, of course, the captions need to also be keyword optimized. So as a cosmetic dentist in Jackson, which is, of course, one of the areas that we're trying to rank for in Mississippi, and in Murphy Dental Aesthetics, which is the company name. So again, specific to the locations that you're trying to rank for, as well as the company name, and then the category, right? Cosmetic dentist. And of course, this post is geotagged to, you guessed it, Jackson. So whenever something goes live and Google reads the data of the post, they'll know that it's being made from this specific area and this is where you're trying to rank. Now the description as well, very important, but it's pretty straightforward. It's very similar to what we're trying to do within our posts. So of course the area, let's use my pen here, but the area, which is Mississippi, and the type of primary category or the keyword that you're trying to rank for, which is cosmetic and aesthetic dentistry. And going more into it, it will indeed include the name of the company as well. So again, very important. And this should be the standard across all profiles. What you can do as well is add the products, because the more filled out or the more complete your overall profile is, the more likely as well Google is to recommend you as opposed to someone whose profile is bare bones, right? So you don't have to add the prices, but you can add the type of services that you do offer. So you offer the teeth cleaning, the teeth whitening, filling cavities, porcelain veneers, regular veneers, implants, so on and so forth. You get the point, right? So yeah, very important there, very important. So I did mention earlier about the locations, call them service areas as well, is you want to select between about 5 and 10 of these areas. And typically we look for the cities with the largest population density when we're filling out these areas. And they also have to be within a 10 to 15 mile radius of the location. So in my client's particular case, of course, you already saw Jackson. Ridgeland is where the office is located. So of course, that's going to be one of our primary service areas. We have Madison, Clinton, Flowood. If you're not based out of Mississippi, you're probably not familiar with these locations. But for my client, these are what we would call money locations, right? So making sure that on your profile, especially if you can even put the zip codes there, that would be a huge, huge, huge change that you could make. Another important aspect are the services. So you have Google listed services and custom listed services. I'll go into services more in depth in another video, but for the sake of this one, I'll just go over them very briefly. As a dentist, there's really only one Google listed service that you can have, and it's teeth whitening. So we also make sure to have that across all our dental clients. And then for our custom listed services, we typically look at what exactly the client offers and we compare and contrast with others within our area that are ranking exceedingly well or even outside of our area. If we know that in huge metros like Houston, for example, that they're doing this particular strategy, then we typically model it because it's incredibly, incredibly competitive. And only the best of the best rank within that area. I have a client in Houston, so, I best of the best here. But yeah, going into it. So dental cleanings, oral exams, implant supported dental bridges, veneers applications, cosmetic smile design, and so on and so forth. And we make sure to map this to whatever our categories are so that it makes sense when Google and when AI looks at our profile from the standpoint of trying to rank it. So provided that you do all of these things, you'll be pretty set with your Google business profile and the foundation would have been complete. Now, moving on to the website, right? So many people, especially with those who are somewhat knowledgeable in SEO, make the correlation between, of course, the website and how you rank. Incredibly important, don't get me wrong, but if your foundation that we went over earlier is incorrect, then no amount of a good website is going to save you locally. But anyway, what we're trying to go for on our website is, of course, technical optimization, which I can go over in another video if you're interested in me doing that. But for the sake of this one, I'm just going to go over just a brief overview of what you're looking for. So before even, once your website is finished, it's complete, whatever, you need to make sure that it's mobile optimized, because about 70 to 80% of the traffic that lands on this website, whether it's from AI or whether it's from Google, is going to be from a mobile device. So and when I say mobile optimized, I mean everything must make sense above the fold. So whenever somebody uses that term above the fold, it's typically like right here on your phone. So let's say that you're on Safari or you're on Google Chrome on your phone. Everything above this line is what's called above the fold. And when you refer to that, it just means what can somebody see above the fold before they scroll. Because typically when somebody gets onto a website, they do not scroll at all. If you have Microsoft Clarity or you have a heat map, you can see this. Like, people do not scroll beyond the fold. So you need to make sure that above the fold is your clear headline and it's SEO optimized. So this means that we include our keywords of what we're trying to rank for, going back to our primary categories. So in this case, it would be, carpet cleaning and water damage restoration in Fairfield, California for my client, Mr. Fresh Carpet Care here. And then the subheadline is additional proof of why you should trust him. And then your CTAs. So this is where a lot of people go wrong, is not having the CTAs there. When somebody gets onto your site, they should see the CTAs and be able to make a decision on what they want to do immediately. So whether it's request a quote or they're going to call or text my client directly, they should be able to do that as soon as they land on the website, because this is very high intent traffic. Somebody does not just look for an emergency carpet cleaner or an emergency water damage restoration expert on a whim. They do it because they need something fixed immediately, right? So if you don't give them the option to do this and they have to scroll in order to find a button, then chances are they're going to go with a competitor as opposed to you, right? So again, make sure it's mobile optimized. And then you can even see on the desktop version that they're able to submit a form right away. And my client receives anywhere between about 5 to 10 inbound jobs just from this form every single month. That doesn't include people who call him directly. That's a different form of attribution that we track for him. But yeah, on the website, you also need to make sure that you've embedded the Google Business Profile so that the algorithms can make a direct correlation between your website and your Google Business Profile. We also include service and location pages. So again, going back to what we saw earlier with my dental client, with all of these service areas, we do the same thing here, but also on the website. So Solano, County, Fairfield, Vallejo, Vacaville, Alameda. I might be butchering some of these names, to be honest, but you get the point of it. You need to make sure that these service pages directly correlate to what's on your Google Business Profile, because you can think of your website as a clear extension of your Google Business Profile, right? So yeah, this is like the long and short of it. I could do an entirely different video on just the website, but for the sake of both of our times, you need to ensure that these things are correctly done and are on your website. Blog strategy is something different. Make sure that if you have a current agency, you're asking them about these things, because they will heavily tie into how you rank on ChatGPT and other AI platforms. Now, moving on to third-party citations. I like to call these core citations just because having these already takes care of, I'd say, 60 to 70% of how you rank. But a citation is essentially a third-party listing site. So we have our Google, which is our foundation, but we also have our Apple Business Connect or Apple Maps. We have our Bing Places for Business, which is like Bing Maps. You're familiar with Yelp, I'm sure, Better Business Bureau, your social media platforms, which I alluded to earlier, your Foursquare and your Uber. So algorithms like ChatGPT, like Google, look for other citations or other platforms to validate whether you're somebody that is worth ranking, to validate your reputation, right? So the more of these platforms that you're on, bonus points if you're actually getting reviews on them as well. the more likely it is that these AI platforms are to recommend you. Because if you're a valid source from Yelp, which is trusted by hundreds of millions of people, same thing for Better Business Bureau, which is a government-related agency, Uber, which is widely acclaimed across the entire world, Facebook, billions of users, and so on and so forth, the more likely you are to be trusted as a result. So the idea is to get listed on as many of these core citations, I say, or these third-party sites that are trusted and reputable, so that there are more sources for AI and these other algorithms to basically use to validate and trust you. There are industry-specific citations as well, which help your case. For example, if you're a dentist, ZocDoc and HealthGrades are industry-specific citations where medical professionals are listed and, of course, get referred clients to. Same thing for Angie, for home service-based businesses, for your restoration companies, for your carpet cleaning companies, for your pest control, for your plumbing, electrician, so on and so forth. And then more of a niche one in Avo, which is for lawyers, right? So being listed on as many of these as possible, and of course they have to be reputable, again, directly correlates to how you will rank within these platforms. You also need to make sure that across all of these, your name, address, and phone number is the same. So going back to my client here, you can see the name Murphy Dental Aesthetics, the address here, and the phone number here. These need to be identical across any profile that you create. Because if one thing is different, let's say that your address here is Park DR, but in something like BBB, Better Business Bureau, it is DRIVE, like you spell out the drive, then it will be seen as a completely different business and entity, and those rankings will go nowhere. So NAP consistency is incredibly important, and it's one of the things that we monitor for our clients. By the way, if you want all of this just completely done for you, then I also offer this as a service. I've done this, and I'm doing this currently for over 20 clients across about 5 or 6 different industries across about 8 or 9 states. So if you want this done for you, link is in the description. Find the time and let's see if we can figure something out for your business so you can start getting recommended by ChatGPT and, rake in the dough, so to speak. And again, if you want the 7 free trainings that I've used in order to build these results predictably for clients across those about 8 industries, then again, link in the description below as well as in the pinned comment. But anyway, the last thing that we're going to go over is an optimized review. So your review strategy is going to be the one ongoing thing that you need to be doing in order to not only rank number 1 across both Google, across ChatGPT and these other AI platforms, but also to maintain that ranking. So many people get reviews and there's something like they did an awesome job, would recommend them, or 5 stars, very good work. And while that's better than getting 0 reviews, what would be an even better use of a review is this one. So starts off with Desert Hills Dental. So this is the company name, and this already blows every other review out of the water because you're bringing back up your company name to the algorithms, right? So I've been hesitant to go to the dentist due to poor experience growing up, but this clinic definitely altered my perspective. From the jump, I was met with care and empathy, going on and on and on, right? But another thing that they talk about is their services. Like, what did they do for them specifically? They did an x-ray. They did a cleaning. They did this, they did that. Dr. Staten, which is the owner of this clinic and who operated on her, did this and was able to, provide such a great experience. And this just continues to feed AI and Google on this information that they need to accurately rank you. And that's the whole name of the game. You are basically just feeding and arming these algorithms with as much information as possible about you in order for them to make the best possible decision to rank you. And that's all it is. Now, we've implemented a strategy for our clients whereby they can get reviews like this consistently from their customers, and they're all real. never have done any fake reviews. I highly do not recommend doing fake reviews because it's an easy way for your profile to get taken down, and nobody wins in that situation. So what we're going for is the review needs to contain the company name, the service provided, and the main city of the location the review was written to. So in my client's case here, they're based out of Las Vegas, but specifically Spring Valley. So that's something that would be included in the review as well. If you can shoot for at least 2 out of 3 of these things, so let's say that you get the company name and the service that's provided, 90% of the time, it will still be significantly better than a plain old, they did a great job. I should change that to 100% of the time, actually, because it will 100% outperform like just a regular one. And you don't know how many times I've been told by clients or been like, no, review collection is so hard and I don't want to break terms of service and, we can't do that for whatever reason. But all it comes down to is just asking them for the review once the job is done. Like, it's that simple, guys. Don't overcomplicate it. If you're a dentist, ask your receptionist once they've finished the cleaning, they've paid, and they're about to leave, if they'd, write something great about it and then include these things and have them walk them through it. And it's not like I'm saying you have to do this 5, 6, 7 times a day or anything. If you can average 1 review per day, then that's already significantly more than the average person does, and it will result in an increase in your rankings, right? So it's not that difficult when you think about it. And if you have a receptionist or if there's somebody out on the job that's doing this for you, then again, it's like you can just ask them to do it instead. It doesn't necessarily have to be you. You just have to make sure that you're the one that's actively getting these reviews. Because contrary to popular belief, Google cares more about your review velocity and quality than they do about your sum total reviews. So I have a client, my carpet cleaning client, who's doing, 10 inbound jobs per month from Google, from ChatGPT, and he has 23 reviews, as opposed to his competition that have hundreds, right? So it's definitely possible, even if you're a smaller business, to get this type of market share. So that's going to be pretty much it. If you do all of these things that I've outlined in this video, then you're going to be able to get more jobs consistently. And you don't have to spend any money on ads either. And that this is something that compounds week over week, month over month, year over year. This industry is expected to reach 78 billion by 2036. And, it's fast approaching, right? We're almost done with 2026 and time is only moving on. So if you want to get started on something on this right away, but maybe you don't have the time, maybe you've seen all of this and still think that it would be better put into the hands of somebody who knows what they're talking about, then, click the link down below in the description. Grab a time, let's chat. I can do this for you. I've done it for many, many different agencies. I'm currently doing it for many different agencies and local businesses. So let's chat. But yeah, if you like this video, feel free to like, subscribe, and comment something that you liked about it. And I would highly recommend you check out one of my next videos on the screen somewhere here, where I'll go over exactly how I'd be able to make over 100K plus for a local business using and implementing this strategy at scale. But yeah, I'll see you in the next video, and peace.